I've lived on this land my whole life. The ranch has been in my family since 1921, passed down from my grandfather to my father to me, and for all that time, we never had a fence. Just a wide dirt road leading in from the county road with signs that said private property, town access permitted. It wasn't just our driveway, it was the only access point to a backup water system that served the entire town of Dry Creek. But that didn't matter to Karen. Karen moved in 2 years ago after the HOA developed a subdivision on the edge of my land. She was the self-appointed president, blonde bob, pearl necklace, clipboard like a badge of honor, and a voice that could pierce a tornado siren. It started with letters in my mailbox. Your property is an eyesore. Please consider painting your barn to match community colors. Your cows are disruptive to the neighborhood aesthetic. I ignored them all, until last week. I came back from the feed store and found a shiny new padlock on my front gate, the gate that had never once needed a lock. There was a sign zip-tied to the post. This area is restricted for HOA members only. Unauthorized access prohibited. HOA President, Karen B. I didn't know whether to laugh or call the sheriff, so I drove around the back pasture to get in through the old trail, then walked straight to the gate with a bolt cutter. But before I could snap the lock, Karen appeared, like she'd been waiting. You're trespassing, she said with that tight little smile. On my own land? I asked. This road is now part of the shared community easement, she replied. It's unsafe to have it open. Children play nearby. You just locked the only access to the town's emergency water supply. She blinked, uncomprehending. I pointed down the road. You see that barn? There's a pump under it. That pump feeds backup water to the fire station, hospital, and senior center if the main lines fail. She laughed. Well, that sounds like your problem. It was about to be hers. The next morning, I was up before the sun. Coffee in hand, I stood on the porch, staring at that ridiculous red padlock like it was a declaration of war. I walked to the old shed and descended the narrow stairs into the basement. There, in the dim light of a single bulb, stood the town's forgotten savior, a massive old water pump surrounded by copper pipes, switches, and a hum that had carried this town through 3 droughts and 2 wildfires. This wasn't just a well, it was Dry Creek's backup life support. I flipped the switch. The pump coughed, then purred, still alive. But it meant nothing if city workers couldn't reach it when it counted. That padlock could kill someone. I dusted off an old metal box and opened it. Inside were yellowing papers, one of them stamped with an official town seal. Town Emergency Access Agreement, Jack Rollins and the City of Dry Creek, 1983. It stated in no uncertain terms that the town had permanent emergency access through my property. If needed, they could enter without notice. It was all legal. Binding. I took it with me to the next HOA meeting. Karen stood at the front like a queen addressing her court. We need to preserve community security, she said. That road leads straight into the heart of our neighborhood. It's a liability. Some people nodded, others scrolled through their phones. None of them knew. When it was time for questions, I stood. My boots squeaked loud on the tile floor. My name's Jack Rollins. I own the ranch you're trying to fence off. That road you just locked? It's not just a driveway, it's the town's emergency water access. You've just cut off the only route to it. Whispers. Raised eyebrows. Karen scoffed. That's a bold claim. I held up the old contract. Signed, certified, still valid. A man in the back, retired fireman I'd later learned, spoke up. I remember that well. We used it in '97 during the mainline burst. If that pump's locked up, we're in real trouble. Karen's face turned pale. The meeting ended early that night, but I knew Karen. She didn't lose gracefully. The next morning, I found workers digging at the edge of my field with a mini excavator and orange cones. The roar of the machine drew me out of bed. I slipped on my boots and walked to the edge of the field, heart thumping like a drum. There she was again, Karen, arms crossed, standing like she owned the world. 2 men in orange vests were carving a trench across the very spot where the emergency water pipe ran underground. What do you think you're doing? I barked. Karen turned, sunglasses gleaming. Drainage work. HOA voted to reroute water runoff. We're improving the community. On my land, she handed me a folder. Our survey shows the boundary is unclear. Until it's confirmed, we're within our rights. Not when you're digging over infrastructure that could save lives, I snapped. That pipe runs from the underground reservoir to the hospital. One wrong move and the whole system fails. One of the workers looked nervous. Ma'am, we weren't told that. Of course you weren't, I said. Karen stepped in. Mr. Rollins, you're being dramatic. That's when Mayor Sarah McBride arrived. She stepped out of her SUV with 2 firefighters in tow. She took one look at the trench, then at me. What's going on, Jack? They're digging on top of the emergency water main. Sarah turned to Karen. Did you authorize this? Karen smiled sweetly. We're just trying to modernize the area. Make things safer. Sarah's voice turned cold. You've just put the entire town at risk. She turned to her aide. File an injunction against the HOA. All activity on this property is to stop immediately. Karen stood there speechless for once. The crowd that had gathered murmured. Some pulled out their phones. One woman brought me a bottle of water and whispered, I didn't know. I'm sorry. But that night, something worse happened. At 1:13 a.m., I heard a soft click from the shed. I grabbed my flashlight and my grandfather's old rifle. The door was open, the lock was smashed. Inside, the pump's wiring had been cut clean. Someone knew exactly what to hit. I stood in the darkness, the flashlight beam trembling in my hand. Clean cuts, precision work, not vandalism, sabotage. And I knew exactly who ordered it. I called Sarah. She answered on the first ring. It's down, I told her. They cut the cables on purpose. I'm on my way, she said. Within the hour, her SUV pulled in, followed by fire trucks and police cruisers. Technicians surrounded the pump house. Word spread fast. By 3 a.m., people in bathrobes and slippers had gathered, whispering and watching. Karen showed up, hood up, trying to blend in. Police approached. Karen Brighton. She tried to smile. Yes, officer? We need to talk. You're being investigated for tampering with city emergency infrastructure. What? I don't know what. We'll continue this conversation at the station. The technicians got to work, but things looked grim. We're talking 48 hours minimum to fix this, one of them said. If we have the parts. And as if the sky were waiting for the worst moment possible, thunder cracked above us. Rain fell fast, hard. Dry Creek's main line had already been under strain. The town's emergency supply system had now failed. Water use was immediately restricted. Panic began, and I was the only one who knew how to fix it. I guided the techs down into the basement, showed them the old relays, the backup fuses, the makeshift generator. My dad built the system to run even in the worst conditions. 3 hours later, as storm water flooded streets and the fire station ran out of reserves, we flipped the switch. The pump groaned, then hummed. Water flowed, the hospital's tanks filled, the fire trucks refueled, the town had water again, we had survived. Weeks passed. Karen was removed from the HOA, charged with destruction of public infrastructure, and quietly sold her home, ironically to a city water engineer. A new sign now stands on my gate. Town emergency access, authorized by law, do not block. And below it, a quote I carved myself, water is life, never let a fool lock it away. I still live on the ranch. Kids now come every Saturday to learn how the system works. They call me Water Grandpa. Karen tried to lock me out of my own land. She didn't know she nearly locked the whole town out of life itself.